Here we go. 3, 2.
2,
We're waiting to come in
1.
live everywhere. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back
To the podcast, The Back Porch.
The Back Porch. Listen, I don't know that we're ever going to be on my back porch.
We're going to call it the kitchen table from now on.
It is, because it's raining today. We live in
Tennessee.
We do. And
the rain capital of the world. No, that's actually, I think, Washington. But
yeah, Seattle.
Yeah,
Seattle. But
we still have a lot of rain.
Let's see. Look, see. It's raining out there. I don't know if you can see out my back deck, but looking out. Oh, now I've got to fix my curtains. Look.
Uh-oh.
All right, Mary. What are we talking about today on the back porch? Happy Monday. You'll see this Wednesday. We're recording on Monday.
Yes.
There we go.
Today we are talking about change.
Change.
Good, bad, ugly.
Change is hard.
Yeah.
Whether it is good, bad, or ugly. Yeah. It is a difficult thing to face sometimes. So.
We get comfortable where we are, and like even if it's a bad comfortable, like it's what we're used to, you know. And changing that is terrifying sometimes, oftentimes.
Oh yeah, you do get comfortable in the situation you're in, like you said, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Yeah. I have always been terrified of change.
Yeah.
Even if it's something I need to change, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's going to be different.
When it costs, different. It costs something, whether it's time, whether it's money. Like if you start a new job, that's always been terrifying for me. When you're settled into a job and you're like, okay, this is great. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, you need to change.
Right.
You've got to meet new people. You've got to reissue all your paychecks. You got to learn where you fit in. It's always hard.
Sure. And people will stay with jobs sometimes because even if they're not completely happy, because it's almost like the devil is safer than the devil you don't know.
That's true.
And sometimes the devil you don't know might be better for you than the devil you're with.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Change is our subject today. Yeah. I'm not good at it. Mary said she's not good at it, so let's talk about it together. Yeah. What kind of started this off is just over my life over the past 4 years has been nothing but change.
Right.
And it's been good change for the most part, you know, but it's been scary in some ways. And then also ways of like trying to figure out, okay, where do I fit in now into the world, into the social constructs I used once to have, and that's what got us talking about it today is change. Well, it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's just part of life.
Nothing stays the same.
No.
Nothing.
Everything changes.
Whether you want it to or not.
Yeah. I mean, it does. And you're talking about like where you fit and all this stuff. That's I lost my train, but that's what I was thinking of. Like where do the social construct.
Yeah.
So I changed, a lot changed for me. I left church. I went to a different thing, and on my Facebook, you know how it'll show like friend requests. Yes. Or not friend requests, friend suggestions.
Yes.
And it got to a place to where all the old people I used to know weren't really much on my Facebook anymore.
Right.
And so all these suggestions were people I didn't know. And I was like, where is my group? Where do I fit? I don't fit into this church anymore. I don't fit into this. I don't fit into that. Like in a different job and all that. And it's like, that sounds so silly, but on Facebook doesn't even know where I fit anymore.
I know.
Like my friends group has, not that, I have you and I still have my close friends.
Right.
But it's like my external outside, group of people has changed.
Your social group in some ways. You had your core people were still there, but your outside circle that, like work friends and stuff, because everybody has that. You've got your ride or die friends that you might have never worked with or whatever. They're just your people. And then you've got your work buddies that you love and adore, but when you leave that job, most likely that relationship's over or whatnot.
And when I lived in Portland and had some really close friends, and then I moved back to Hendersonville. And so even though you try to stay in touch, like sometimes it's hard, and that's a change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, change is going to happen whether you can sit in your little circle all day long, but the world around you is going to keep changing.
Right. Well, and we talk about therapy. Like one of the things my therapist says, if you change, everything around you will change.
It has to.
It does.
It has to. And that's the thing. And people, and I know, and I'll speak from my own personal experience. Yeah. I know that I am a comfort creature. Right. I love all things comfortable and cozy, and I don't like hard things.
Right.
I know that doesn't sound great, but I'm a wimp. I can admit it. Whatever.
Most people are like that.
But I like my creature comforts.
Yeah.
And I will get into habits sometimes that might not be the best habits for me, but hey, it's what I do.
Right.
This is what I do,
Yeah.
And you got to stop sometimes and say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What are these habits? Are they bringing me positive things in my life? Or are they keeping me held back from where I need to be? Just keeping me stagnant? Yeah. Stagnant, not stagnant. Stagnant.
You're right.
Or is it propelling me forward?
Right.
And so you've got to decide, for yourself, okay, do I want to stay right where I am?
Yeah.
Do I want to move forward?
Yeah.
Do I want to move backwards? So change.
Yeah.
Making the step to take a change is one of the hardest things you'll do, but some of the greatest things. And that's for me too. About 4 years ago, I left church. My husband was a pastor. We left all that behind, like my whole church family. You call them church families. They're great people, but my relationships with them just dwindled. And for 20 plus years, that was my core.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, I had you and stuff, and I had my core group still, but all that disappeared just overnight. And that led to more and more changes coming along. So over the past few years, I'm learning to roll with that's a good old
roll
song.
With the punches.
Roll with the changes.
Roll with the changes,
Yes, I'm learning, and it's not easy. I'm getting a little bit better, but
it is painful. It really is. I mean, emotionally and even physically, like you can feel the stress and it can affect your body, but change, even though it's inevitable, it can be really painful. It can be terrifying.
It can, and even if it's a good change, that's the thing. Like even good changes freak me out a little bit because it's taking me out of my norm. If I get a better job paying double what I make, with better hours, that's a good thing, right? But part of me still will want to stay back here, because it's what I know. And we're scared as humans, I think, for the most part, to let go of what we know.
We are, and I know with me, like whenever I when I started my mental health journey years ago, and especially, so there's been a lot of off and ons with therapy and stuff, but my first big thing in 2016, I got to a place to where I could not manage it on my own. Mm-hmm. So I knew I had to change,
right?
To survive for me, and so I started doing therapy and stuff. And as time's gone on, I've done more and more therapy. But changing those emotional mindsets and those comfortable emotions you've always, like my victim mode and all that stuff was very comfortable to me. And to change that was scary because I have to be responsible. I have to be responsible for myself, and I can't look to other people for validation. And that was a huge change.
That is so tough when you realize that people look, I like to look the way I look at it. I mean, not get tongue tied. I need you. Right. You know what I'm saying? We're a village. You know what I'm saying? We all need people on the outside. I think that's just human nature. We're not meant to be alone.
Yeah, we're social creatures.
So when you validate me, when you say, hey, Kim, you look nice today, or I like your hair, it's nice. It makes me feel good, right? But what you're saying is I cannot live for those.
Right.
I can't wait for Mary to call me every day and say, hey, Kim, you're a rock star. You look beautiful, and you're gonna rule this day.
Right.
You got to find it within yourself. And that's one thing I'm learning. I have always looked for external validation because I never felt inside myself strong enough, good enough, all those things.
Right.
And I'm learning to say, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You are good enough. You are enough, and that doesn't mean I'm my own village and I don't need other people.
Right.
It just means that. Hey, I am changing and learning to appreciate myself and love myself. And I don't need you to do that for me. Right. I want you to do that for me. I desire that. Everybody desires, like I said, love and validation. I think that's part of it, but you've got to learn to love and validate yourself.
Yeah. Well, like there's been lonely days and horrible days. To where, like, especially in my past, before I knew I could take care of myself, like, I would text you, I would text somebody else, text mom, everybody's busy, everybody's, you know what I'm saying? And so then you feel even worse, like, not only do I feel like shit, but nobody cares, when that's not the case. Right. People just have their own lives, they're busy. But like you said, finding that in me, I can say, you know what? I am enough.
Right.
I do not need somebody to validate me. Because I am worthy of love, just like I am.
So how did you, let me ask you, because you did change.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. Yeah. Like over the past, I will say 2 years maybe, You have done this complete 180
Yeah.
from being the victim.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and trust me, you were a victim.
Oh,
I am not taking that away
know.
from you. You were victimized.
Yeah.
But
if you stay there, you will die. I mean, whether it's emotionally, spiritually,
you will
whatever.
die as a victim.
Yeah.
So I know therapy was part of it.
Yes.
And that we're both big believers in therapy. Yeah. If you've listened to us for more than 5 minutes, it's done a good deal for both of us. Now, I will say it takes more than just sitting in somebody's chair and saying, okay, here's all my past hurts. Yeah. You've got to say, okay, he's going to give you the tools, or she, or whoever you go to.
Right.
It's up to you to use them. So therapy was part of your change, but share with us, if you don't mind, some other things that made you say, okay, I'm sick, and I'm going to cough again. Excuse me.
You're okay.
I'm sick of being where I am.
Yeah.
It's getting me nowhere. Can you share some things that help make you change? Okay.
Well, in group, and I've shared some of this, but there was one moment in group. I've talked about somebody telling me I made excuses and how that really floored me.
Right.
And there was another time, and I realized the road I'm going on is not going to come to a good end if I don't change. And I think realizing that I had given all my power away my entire life to other people, and learning that if something didn't change, because up until 2 years ago, I still struggled heavily with suicidal ideation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the place where, like, I broke down in group bawling. Like, I cry in group, but I was sobbing, and I was like, y'all, and I'm about to cry, but if I don't change, I'm not going to make it. Like, I will not survive. And that, for me, was a huge catalyst, just saying, you know what? I have got to change this. And mostly therapy, but also just learning to stand up for myself, what I need, asking for what I need. You know, that's hard.
That's a very foreign feeling, isn't it? Especially when your whole life you've kind of just
lived for everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we've said before, it can make you feel almost selfish.
It can.
But it's not.
Right.
Self-care is so important.
And finding emotional intimacy. A lot of that in my group, I found that. But finding it outside with you, with my parents, with my niece, people who I'd always loved and been close to.
Right.
But now it's a new connection because I am free to be who I am. I'm not afraid of what people think about me. I know that it's just, and the other people becoming more healthy. I have this social connection that even though I had always had loved ones and friends, internally I have found that love I always wanted,
Right.
And because as close as we were, I would always feel alone. I would always feel like I didn't belong. I would always feel like I didn't matter. But once I started having those because everybody requires emotional intimacy. That's a part of life that we need that a lot of people don't really get. And when I started getting that from my relationships, that helped me to come to terms with myself and love myself more. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Because I did not, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have told you that I couldn't be emotionally intimate. I didn't even know what that meant. Right. You know what I'm saying? I would be like, oh no, I listen. But I realized, like, I'm finding like we'll be in a conversation, and I'm real bad that I'll be sitting scrolling on my phone while you're talking to me.
Right.
I'm not being present with you at all. So I'm learning, like, one of my changes. Okay.
Yeah.
My kid comes into the room, talk to me. My phone goes down.
Yeah.
Because I want them to know, hey,
you're connected.
Yes. Yeah. That is so important. And, like, we all, in this digital age, I think we're all guilty of that.
We are. I have been too.
Because we all so much kind of get in our own bubbles, even though we're not meant to be in a bubble.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be connected.
Yeah.
I think things like technology, it's beautiful. It's a double-edged sword. It gives us all this information. It keeps us connected.
But it also keeps us separate.
It does.
Yeah.
We connect to strangers on the other side of the world that are not connected to the persons that are in our very house.
Well, and the other thing about emotional intimacy is that honesty, that not being afraid of what they think. And so, and it doesn't have to be something bad, but if somebody has done something that upsets you, like we had a thing a while back, but we got together and talked about it, and that honesty with yourself and with someone else, not in a hurtful way, but in a let's talk about this because this hurt me. How did it make you feel?
Right.
And that connection becomes stronger. People are so afraid to mess stuff up. But if you're open and honest with somebody and they're open and honest with you, that connection gets stronger.
Well, it's true. And it's so true. And you're not ever, if we're honest and we're honest, true with ourselves, we're never going to agree 100% with somebody. We're going to disagree, and there's going to be times the conflict come up.
Right. That's just a part of life.
And it's about learning how to resolve conflict in a healthy way. Like that the thing, we'll just tell you, we recorded a podcast. Right. I think we talked about this a little bit, and we were uncomfortable with it for different reasons, if you will. And we scrapped it. But we scrapped it in a moment of codependency, to be honest. We were both like having freak out moments. And instead of in that moment saying, hey, let's talk about this, we threw the podcast out and then had a good conversation. We're like, we shouldn't have thrown that podcast out.
No.
But a year ago,
we would have just been upset and
turmoil, and it would have been this awkwardness between us because neither of us knew to be able to be level-headed and say, okay, look, this is how this made me feel. Yeah. And you would say, this is how this made me feel. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we came away and we're like, okay.
Yeah, we were better.
We were better. Closer. Yeah. We were better. We were closer. Yes, it was a moment of conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, like you felt hurt maybe, I felt hurt maybe,
And afraid. Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing. That's always the fear,
Right. And so changing.
And that's one of the best changes that's ever happened to me.
Because I don't know, I think both of us, we've always been pretty honest with one another, but I know I've walked on eggshells around you before. I have around everybody. Because I don't want to step on their toes. I don't want, and listen, I don't want to go around and be a total jerk to people and just be like, how can I hurt you today? What can I say to make you mad or upset? I don't want to be that person. But you should be able to tell your truth to people you're close to in honesty without fearing all hell breaking loose.
Well, and it's not comfortable at first, especially because a lot of us grew up with that fear of losing, the fear of abandonment, the fear of people being angry at you and leaving you,
What is that? I understand that. That's, why do we do that? Like, if I tell you my truth, you're not going to love me anymore. Right. And you're going to leave me.
Right.
That's such an odd feeling. But I felt it before. Oh, yeah. Like, okay, I cannot be my full self here. Right. Because if they see the real Kim,
they'll run screaming.
They're not going to love the real Kim.
Right.
And I did that for so long.
Yeah.
I can't be myself.
Right.
Can't be in. And now I'm becoming more myself. And sometimes I'm like, whoa, maybe I do need to dial it back. But you know what I'm saying? I'm learning to be, this is me.
Yeah.
Unapologetically.
Yeah.
This is what I think, and take me or leave me. Yeah. And that's a hard thing because I've always been a validation person. Yeah. Do you love me? I want you to love me. Yeah. Are we friends still?
Are you mad at me?
Are you mad at me? Oh, that's my favorite.
That was always mine.
Oh, it's still mine.
And it's a control thing. That was funny. Because like I used to be, that's another thing I was going to say about the emotional intimacy. We fear it. We fear it. Anyway, I think I got that. Anyways, but I used to text people like I said, those lonely days when nobody would respond. So I'd go, 3 hours later, are you mad at me? Right. But that was my way to feel better, to try to control you, to say, maybe if she'll respond, I'll know she's not mad at me and I'll feel better.
Oh, no. I'm so guilty of that. Yeah. I am so guilty. Even still, that's something I've got to work on.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example. When Wayne comes home from work, his job is hectic and stressful. And like when he comes home, like he needs a minute to just kind of, get his bearings straight. Right. And he is a quiet guy by nature. Wayne, he's not ultra talkative, but he'll come in some days and you can just, the look on his face is just like, he's worn out, but then I'll start being like, oh, what have I done? Have I done something? Have I done something? Yeah. And I will internalize it. Yeah. Now, what I've learned to do, and I don't know if this is codependency or healthy, I'll just say, hey, are we good? Have I done something? Is something? And he's like, oh, I just had a hellish day at work and just need to,
No, I don't think that's codependency. And I think it depends on your motivation. It really does.
Well, no, I just
like where do we stand? I don't think that's codependency. Like, hey, are we good? Like, but I think it depends on your motivation. Like, are you asking to control him? Or are you really just like, oh, you seem upset. Have I done anything?
Right.
That's different, I think.
But for years it was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And really I hadn't done nothing. He just had like a rough day at work. And he's like, I've talked all day and I just need 10 minutes to not talk, you know?
Regather everything.
But yes, I would find myself, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? He doesn't love me anymore. We're going to get a divorce. He just come in from work on a Monday.
Spiral.
Yes. And it's ridiculous. And he doesn't deserve that. The man just walked in from work and wants to, you know, get his work clothes off, you know? But I had to change that. That's part of change. I had to say, okay, wait a minute. Even if he has a bad day, or if even he has done, I've done something that he perceives that I've pissed him off.
Right.
I mean, maybe I owe him an apology. Maybe I should say, hey, I shouldn't have called you an ugly name this morning. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had to learn. I had to make that change that his feelings are your feelings, or whoever. It doesn't even have to be Wayne. It can be Mom. It can be Dad. It can be Mary. It can be my sister.
Yeah.
Those are not my feelings.
Right.
Those are their feelings.
Right. You're separate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was a big change I'm learning to make of, okay, I am my own person. And just because they're in a bad mood doesn't mean I've got to be in a bad mood.
Right.
And doesn't mean I've got to do anything to fix it.
Right.
I've got to let them deal with their emotions.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It is. And while we're talking about change, I think we have to talk a little about self-sabotage. We touched on that. I think we touched on it maybe. I don't know.
That's a good one. Let's talk about it.
But like, so you're comfortable feeling like shit sometimes. You know, you just, when that's what you're used to in life, you're comfortable. You don't want to change necessarily. So a lot of times in therapy, and I used to be the queen of this, and that's one of the ways that I have changed. It's different. And that's why I've been on a much better place in the last 2 years. I would get to a certain, they say, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yes.
And so you're moving up, but then you go back a little bit. But I would self-sabotage. And it was not even like I didn't even realize it. It was totally it's
muscle
subconscious.
Memory. It's muscle memory. Yes.
Yeah. And I would do something and then I would spiral. You know, but I was comfortable. I'm back to where I think I'm a piece of crap now, and that's what I'm used to feeling.
Oh yeah,
you know?
It's a comfortable feeling. It's not really a comfortable feeling, but it's a feeling I know.
But you're used to it.
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say there's also the other part where if you're in a relationship where one person is toxic and you've always been toxic, and you start to try to get better than that person is afraid, and so they're like, oh shit, so they'll sabotage, you know, and it's all subconscious. It's amazing.
I don't think if you love somebody, you truly love, you don't set out to hurt them, but I use the word muscle memory a lot. It is. It's like blanking. You don't even realize you're doing it until you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I just took 2 steps back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I get very comfortable where I'm at, whether I'm in a shit show or whatever. It's like, I lived part of my life in chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and we get used to chaos.
Yes. And then when I'm like, okay, the chaos has ended, it was very uncomfortable. It was like, what do I do now? You know, when I left everything I knew and started over, even though that part of my life was chaos, right? When we left our church situation a few years ago, it was chaos for us. I'm not knocking, anything, but it just was not the fit for us, right?
Right.
It was chaos in our lives.
Yeah.
And when that chaos ended, it was, even though it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, it was also like,
now what?
Who am I?
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice but to make a change.
Yeah.
It was the best thing that ever happened to me, you know, but it was difficult. Sometimes changes, whether they're good, bad, or ugly, they're going to be hard.
Yeah.
You've got to choose your hard, I think.
There's a thing on Facebook. Go ahead.
Well, are you going to sit in the pile of crap you're in forever?
Yeah.
And nothing is ever going to change. As long as you sit in your land of self-pity or self-whatever, nothing will ever change.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you can wait for people to come in left and right to validate you, to make you feel better or whatever. But those people are eventually going to run out and you're always left by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you wake up alone. I mean, even like if you live with somebody, you know, you're a young person, right? You do all this stuff. You're your own person.
Yeah.
You cannot expect the world to coddle you and make you better. And that's scary.
Yeah, it is. Because you are in control of yourself. And that's it's so funny. Because like for years, right, like I was an adult, but I didn't feel like an adult. Right. You know? And like I always felt like this 10-year-old that people were like not realizing that I'm paying these bills and shit, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like an imposter. I don't know if that's the imposter syndrome, but I felt like a fake because internally I'm like a 10-year-old. I felt afraid all the time.
Right.
I didn't know how. I felt so lost.
You were a child in an adult
body.
Yes,
I really was emotionally. I was still very much a child, and that's one thing therapy has helped grow me up to where, for the first time, and I've noticed this about a year and a half ago, I felt like an adult. I didn't feel like a scared kid. I felt like an adult who could take care of myself, and that's a big part of it. Is you didn't learn to take care of yourself, and so you're always looking for somebody to take care of you. At least in for instance.
Well, I think all of us, in some ways, do. You know, or we go the hyper vigilant other way of I do not need anybody to take care of me. You know, I will die on my own island. You know, you can come visit me every now and then. I think you can go one extreme or other. Okay, I need somebody to take care of me, or by God, my leg might be broken and I'm on the ground, but don't help me up. I'm fine.
And it's interesting because I have been in both. When I was young, like I did not want help with my homework, and even still, it is a weird factor because I always was kind of looking for somebody to save me. But at the same time, when I needed money or something, I did not want to ask my parents. Like I could be down to eating beans and saltines, and I was at one point did not want to ask for $20 to go get groceries because and in some ways that's a pride thing. Sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, I've been on both sides of that.
Oh, I have too. Yeah. I have too. I can be that person that's like, I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I will die on this hill by myself. Look at me, the martyr. Yeah. And then I can be that little girl that's like, somebody come rescue me. Yeah. I think we all can be both sides of that, honestly, if you think about it. And it's a balance, you know.
It is. It really is. It's like,
Because, I mean, surely in life, even if you're the most, like I'm using the center line of the table, you're the most balanced person on earth, there's times you are going to have to be your own island and stand on your own. Yeah. And there's times you're going to need help from others, you know. But you've got to find that balance to know, hey, I can stand. I can do this.
I can do this on my own. And that's one of the things we were talking about earlier that kind of triggered this thought of, shit, what was it? Oh, I know. Like, so, talking about the self-sabotage, I used to, and not even just the self-sabotage, but I used to go into spirals. And I wanted to say, like, I am nowhere near perfect. There are times, and this is a change, where there's times I will start and I'm like feeling it. I'm like, okay, this is starting. Yeah. I can follow this down. Right. Or I can say, nope, you know what? It's okay. I am not about to lose my shit because of one or two little things. Right. I can do this. I don't have to go freaking out to the end of the freaking, you know.
To the end of the spiral, to the bottom, right.
I can stop it at the beginning and be like, okay, yeah, I was pity for a little while. I was victim for a little while, doing some bullshit, you know, self-sabotage. But you know what? No, I can stop this right here. Right. You know, a day in instead of 2 weeks later. Right. You know, so that's huge for me.
And it's always, you've always got to remember, no matter where you are in your healing journey, we're human. Yeah. We're going to mess up. Yeah, we were talking earlier before we recorded, you know, we all, there's to me, there's a line of light and dark, right? And we all dance in between that line at times, right? Sometimes we're more in the light and doing things better and right, and sometimes we go over to that dark side.
That's true.
Mental health and fixing yourself and changing, that's a big part of that. Oh, yeah. There's times you're going to slip over into those old habits. Yeah. And say, and you're going to spiral. Yeah. And there's times you're going to rock it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And the more you go along this journey, though, hopefully less and less. Right. You see yourself going to the dark side. And when you do, you know the tools
to get back out.
Okay. Yeah. This is not going to serve me to go over here. Right. It feels comfortable because it's what I've always known. Yeah. Poor, pitiful Kim. Yeah. Look at me. I'm so sad. I'm so, you know, all this is happening because of all that. Yeah. It's comfortable. That's where my warm blanket is. That's where I've lived my whole life.
And yeah, and it's interesting, like even if it's not bad chaos, like, right? Like, so the past 2 weeks have been extremely busy, but it's been wonderful. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, but it's so interesting that once things slow down, you're like, what do I do now? Right. You know, and it doesn't necessarily always mean that it's crazy bad stuff. Right. But you still have to say, okay, now I'm here. I'm me. Like, I don't have to be sad. You know, I just had 2 great weeks that were slam-packed. Right. That doesn't mean that now that there's nothing there that I'm bad or that screwed things up and now I'm alone. It just
Right.
means, you know what, there are downtimes.
There are.
And it's okay.
Right.
If I'm bored, I can write a poem, read a book, whatever.
Right. Boredom is my
Right.
worst enemy.
Yeah.
I will do some of the most self-sabotaging stuff
Yeah.
when I'm bored, you
Yeah.
know, or unhealthy things, or things that, you know, I'm going to get a pack of Oreos because I'm bored.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's when self-care, when those slow times come, that's when self-care is really important, like
right.
you're talking about.
Making changes, active changes. Change is not easy. That's what we've talked about some today. We always kind of go off the rails with our conversation. But change is worth it.
It is. And that's one thing, like, if I hadn't changed, I would be in a very bad place. Medication helps me, yes. But had I not 3 years ago decided to go on this therapy journey and really stick with it, and I would not be where I am today.
Right.
And so even though change is hard as hell and back and forth, it, like you said, is very much worth it.
And then some changes, before we end, some changes are just bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes life happens and there are changes that you did not want to happen, did not expect. We're not talking about those so much today.
Right.
You've got to face them, but we're talking about internally changing yourself and changing your situations.
But you're right, like deaths and stuff. That's inevitable, and that kind of change can be heart-wrenching.
Oh, God,
and you never... I'm not trying to say you never completely recover, but you do, I guess. But you change. Yeah.
When you lose somebody you love,
no
matter who that person is, and I think that it can go deeper with levels of who that person was.
Right, it absolutely does.
So when you lose somebody you love, when somebody is no longer part of your life, it's going to change you.
Yeah.
And you can't go back to that person you were.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Elements of that person might still be there, but it does forever change you.
It really does.
And, yeah, I mean... my nephew died. Well, I mean, he was your nephew too, basically. It was 6 months ago, right? It was a tragedy. He had a seizure and passed away. He was a special needs, and it changed my family.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it changed his parents, his siblings, and it's not been a good change.
No.
I will tell you, it's been hard and difficult and lots of tears.
Yeah.
And we can't fix it.
Right.
We if we had a choice, we wouldn't have made that change.
Right.
Now,
well, I don't think there's as much getting over it as it is walking through
it. Because you don't get over it.
Right.
You never. And I guess with that change, even though it's hard, I don't know.
It's still a part of life.
It's still a part of life.
We all face.
And you've got to, it's hard to accept.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm
saying?
That, so I don't want to say that flippantly.
No.
You know, you've got to accept it and move on, you know, because
that's not it.
That's not it.
But acceptance is a part of the grieving process.
And moving forward, like you said, with it walking with you.
Yeah.
Because you can never leave losing somebody behind in the past and say, that's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and so here's one thing, and DJ, I don't know how I should say his name.
That's fine. He was a pure soul. He's a pure soul. Everybody should have known DJ.
And he was. So now we're gonna cry, but he was so beautiful, and he touched so many lives.
Right.
And so seeing that helps me. He didn't spend a lot of time here. He was like 23, 22. That's right. But he touched so many people, like more people than me or you probably ever, because he was pure.
He was a pure soul. I think God gives us pure souls, and they're wrapped in special need bodies. You know,
and was a hero when he passed. He donated organs.
He was an organ donor, but you know, I tried to, even though that was a change that I surely didn't want in my life, and nobody in our family wanted in this life. You know, I tried to say, okay, I can't fix that.
Right.
I can't turn back the hands of time and make him here. But what can I do with this god awful change that's happened?
Love each other, love his parents.
Yes,
try to reach out.
Try to take something positive out of it if you can. Make something positive come out of something so negative. I don't know. As I said, changes happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're by your choice, and sometimes you have no choice.
Right.
And it's how you deal with them, I guess, is the moral of the story. And some changes are definitely easier than others.
Yeah.
Right?
So when my dad passed away, I don't know, we're almost time, I'm sorry.
Oh, listen, it's our podcast. If we want to talk for 2 hours, you can turn it off whenever. We're going.
But I've learned that. So he passed away in 2018, and it took 2 or 3 years for me to say, you know what? I'm sad that he's gone. It'll never be the same, but I see the good times.
Yes.
And think less about the sadness of losing him, but he's still here with me in my memories and in my heart. You know, there's a song called Leader of the Band. The leader of the band is tired, but his blood runs through my instrument.
Oh.
You know, and my dad was a guitar player.
Anyways. And an amazing songwriter, too. I mean, that man had some talent running through his veins, and that talent runs through your veins, too.
Yeah.
You know,
and
that apple didn't fall far from the tree.
And you can see that, and he's always with us. And DJ, when I see, like we talk about Teletubbies or something, and they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
And I do believe they're in heaven. I 100% believe that. But they will always, as long as they live in our heart, be here with us in some ways.
Right. As long, yes. So, man.
Sorry, we got off on grief after talking about change.
Well, because grief is change.
Yeah.
When you go through grief, it does. It changes you in ways that you can't imagine.
Yeah.
You know, we're not meant to stay the same. I don't think in life. Anyway, life, you know, it throws stuff at you, and it's going to make you change.
It does. Yeah.
And I think that's part of the growth process of being a human.
It is.
We can change for the better. We can change for the worse.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid of it. We're both afraid. We said at the beginning we're both fear it, but what we're trying to say is try to embrace it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen. Change is going to happen. Good change, bad change, and we just got to kind of, like the old song says, roll with the changes.
Yeah.
I think it's REO Speedwagon that sings it. It's a great old song. Listen to it. Great organ in it. But I think are we out of time? Have we said it all today?
I think we've said a lot. I don't know if we said it all.
I don't know. There's more to come. Thank y'all, everybody, for tuning in. As always, we love you guys.
Y'all.
We do.
So much.
And you got any questions? Anything? Something you want us to talk about?
Right. Give us a topic.
Let us know.
Yeah.
We got a topic. Last week's topic was from your niece, Sherry.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you, Sherry, for that good topic. That was
shout out,
Sherry. Thank you for being a listener, contributor, all of it. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks to our number one fan, Sherry. She might be the only person listening to this. This is the Sherry show now. But thanks. We'll do it again.
Everybody.
We'll see you next week.
See you
same
soon.
time, same place. All right. I'm going to get up and turn this off.
All right. I'll turn this one on.
All right.